From the lowest to the highest, from the furthest to the nearest, from the smallest of the smallest to the greatest of the greatest, yoga is about all of life, everything we do, all of existence. My name's James Bogue. Welcome to the Whole Life Yoga Podcast. Namaskar, Bill. Good to see you.
Good to see you, my friend.
So, following our previous discussion, there were many threads or many ideas that came up, Bill. And the feedback that I've received, people are really valuing the perspective that you bring with your different life experience. And one question that one person asked me very specifically was to do with the experience of being in a situation that you felt called to, doing your dharma perhaps, in which killing was happening all around you. And it brought up this question of evil and how to reckon with it, how to confront it, work through it in the world. And I know many people, with regards to the teachings of various spiritual traditions and religions, they have this question about what type of God can justify evil, and how does one confront evil in the world in a practical way. And I recall from our previous conversation, Bill, you mentioning that there came a moment for you when you could no longer ignore in any way. It was filling all your senses that you had been participating in something that was evil. And so I think
that's true.
Yeah, and I think you're a person who is very qualified to shed light on this in a very interesting way. So I think I'll leave it there for now and hand over to you to respond. There's a couple other things I might take it further with, but I'd like to leave it there for now.
I think this is truly excellent. I really like this. To make it clear, it wasn't that killing was done all around me, is that I myself have killed a number of people. I was specifically awarded the third highest decoration the American government could give for shooting a large number of North Vietnamese one afternoon on top of a hill. So I was specifically awarded for directing deadly accurate fire, on North Vietnamese soldiers. So I've been involved not with killing all around me in some kind of abstract way, but I've done quite a bit of it personally. So I want to make that clear to our audience, is I've done it. Now, when the time came for me to leave my second tour in Vietnam, and where I became very much aware of the evil that I was part of and the evil in my own nature, and I will call it evil. Now, some people want to say ignorance. Well, ignorance is okay, but I'll call it evil, because evil is basically ignorance of what is reality. Now, the thing is Prince Arjuna, in the beginning, he is locked into a world of where he doesn't want to kill his kinsman, his teacher, friends of his. So what he does is he get very, very confused about what do I do? What do I do in this? There's a confusion, there's a perplexity. And I understand Prince Arjuna very, very well, because I was there myself. What do we do? Well, the first thing we have to do is we have to find a teacher. That's the first thing we have to do. Is I understood that I was too ignorant to solve my own problem. Now, I was headed for a world of self-destruction. I understood that I had seen from my military career, I'd seen many old sergeants, old soldiers, alcoholism, anger issues, marrying the wrong person, drug abuse. Self-destruction takes on many, 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 many different forms. And then we discussed previously I was not going to live my life with this kind of self-destruction. So just like Prince Arjuna, I had to go find teachers. So I decided to go to philosophy. Prince Arjuna, of course, had Lord Krishna. He turned to Krishna to be his teacher. So what we did was, for many years, we trained and we talked and we discussed with our teachers. And eventually I got to the point where I realized, through the Gita and a number of other studies in Zen Buddhism and Western philosophy, et cetera, that my problem is I was locked into duality. Duality is the world of ignorance. I was still locked into the chaos of the secular world. And the secular world is the world of change. This is the world that we live in. This is the world where you conducted your meeting and you had some difficulties. This is the world we all live in. This is the battlefield of life. We are all on the battlefield of life. And so I accept that I was on the battlefield of life. This is the world of the senses. This is the world of change. This is the world where we're born. We grow older. We decay. Our bodies disintegrate. We go into senility. We die. This is the world of change. Now, what do we link ourselves to? Okay, because we're involved with yoga. And what is yoga? A yoga is a yoking. What do we yoke ourselves to? Now, do we yoke ourselves to things that are in the world of the senses that we see every day? Do we yoke ourselves to material things, games? Do we yoke ourselves to distractions, to the world of numbness? I mean, all around me today, for example, I see people, they're spending their lives on their mobile phones, games. This is a form of numbness. In other words, when we're facing the life that we're living today, many people don't want to engage the battlefield of life. They want to achieve some kind of numbness or oblivion from the battlefield of life. Now, numbness and oblivion are options people can take. People can take that. As a matter of fact, most people do. But that's not good enough for me. What do I want to yoke myself to? I want to yoke myself to something that is real and that is eternal, never changes. It's there. And one of the things that I understood is that there is I felt it. I felt it when I was in combat. I felt it when I had intuitions about when the enemy was all around me. Where do these intuitions come from? They're concrete, because these intuitions saved my life. I've told the story before about, on several occasions, how I'm going to some place and then all of a sudden the intuition comes to me, the enemy, they're all around you. They're here. And where did that come from? So I had to go back to the source. Where did that come from? Well, it came from myself, but it didn't come from the self that lives in the chaos of the world around me with its addiction to the senses and things like that. It came from another place within me. That's the place where I needed to go. And that's the place that every living thing has. We all have it because we are all part of it. Doesn't make any difference what you call it: Brahman, Nirvana, God. It doesn't make any difference. Supreme Spirit of the universe, original being. It doesn't make any difference what you call it. I prefer the term used by the Upanishads. that or the transcendental, because that and the transcendental are neutral terms that do not cause somebody to go directly into a certain kind of cult or religion or whatever. To me, there's only one religion. There's only one religion, and that is what is within, is that soul or true self within me that is in every being in the universe, nature, or whatever you want to call it, that.
Yes.
That, the transcendental, that permeates everything. So that is the realm I wanted to go to. And that means dropping the ego, dropping the love of senses, sensual attractions. And it means meditation. And it means finding true teachers. And I have been blessed with the kind of teachers that I've had. I've had wonderful teachers. When I was at university, I mentioned before, I had 7 great teachers. Since then, I've had a number of great teachers. You and I have shared a great teacher, Acharn Tassanee Sinsakul. You and I have shared a great teacher. So we know, that we have to find a teacher. So that's where we have to go. And when you go into that, then the answer comes back. Yes, there is the killing, but you see that is also permeates all duality. It permeates all of samsara. Samsara is one with that. We see it in different ways. We intellectualize it as a duality, but this duality of samsara and that are simply dualities in our minds that we intellectually use. The reality is they are the same. And because they are the same, I understand now that when I was shooting people in Vietnam, it was, in my opinion, an evil war, and I was doing something evil. But then I also realized later in life, once I began to understand this more, that yes, that is also permeates evil. That also permeates good, because the dualities are only intellectual. The reality is all one. And that is the realm I want to go to. And because of that understanding, and because I worked so many years with Acharn Tassanee, and because I worked so many years translating the Bhagavad Gītā with her, along with my other studies in Buddhism and things, I understand that I no longer have any attachment whatsoever to the world of the killing. I did it. I take responsibility for it. I will not disown it. But on the other hand, I have absolutely no attachment to it anymore whatsoever. It's all attachment is gone. Any questions on that?
Well, one immediate one, Bill, is to come to that point of no attachment. What did that take? What did that require of you?
What it requires is, in my case, it's my meditation. My meditation is what does it for me. Now, what I do, meditation, everybody has their own way to meditate. For me, I take the meditation, I meditate every second of my life. Every second of my life, everything is, where is my ego in this? Where is my ego in this? I make statements. I talk to people. Where is my ego in this? Where am I in this? Where is my false self? Where is my true self? And what I have to try to do is to make sure that I diminish and disintegrate and cause decay to that false self within my being, and begin more and more to try to move into the true self. At that point, when the knower, that which is known, and the means by which everything, it all comes back into the enjoyer. The doer is no longer a self.
Mm-hmm.
The doer is that.
Mm.
That is the doer.
So I have a couple of questions. Bill, you mentioned that sometimes people talk about evil as ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people find or experience their life becoming this cascade of self-destructive or self-limiting, inhibiting tendencies. And from listening to you, what I'm perceiving is that you are no longer able to ignore something. And once you had this recognition of, well, I have been participating in evil,
Yes.
it led to it spurred you to a path of commitment to the truth. So
Yes,
it's
that's exactly right.
Decades of inquiry. Where am I in this? What is my ego? What is the true underlying self, the real actor or agent beneath all of the experience? That path of devoted, committed, ongoing, relentless inquiry.
Yes, it is. It's
relentless.
relentless.
Is the means to kind of extricate ourselves from the hooks of evil in the form of the limitations of ignorance. Like
Yes.
Sometimes people talk about ignorance being bliss, but once one sees, one cannot not unsee. And then the call is to keep looking deeper into the dark, perhaps. And it seems to me like the horror you experienced. Sometimes people say change can only happen when the discomfort of going into the unknown is less troubling than the pain of staying in the status quo. So one has to have that motivation to make the change, because going out of the known requires courage and it can be intimidating. But it seems to me, but the experience you had in the extremities of what you experienced in Vietnam, the wake-up call was so whole system resonant, there was no denying it or ignoring it ever again.
No, I could not ignore it. Now that's absolutely, James, I have to say that you have extraordinary clarity on exactly understanding what I just said. You have great clarity on that. That is absolutely clear. And your explanation matches exactly the words that I spoke to you.
Mm-hmm.
They're very, very clear. Your understanding is perfect. Yes, because there has to be a moment in your life when you realize, I can't take this anymore. In other words, I'm ready to self-destruct. Now, the question that people, I'm thinking of your viewers now, and I'm thinking of all the viewers out there, and I'm thinking of other people. And the question people have to ask themselves is, how much am I willing to pay to stay ignorant? How much am I willing to pay? I mean, am I ready to just spend my life in oblivion? Am I ready to drink myself unconscious? Am I ready to gamble away everything I make? Am I ready to destroy my life just to achieve some kind of oblivion because I don't want to face? I don't want to come to grips with truth. I mean, these are questions. Now, everybody has to answer this in a different way.
Yes.
Everybody has to come to a different point of view on this. Now, for me, the thought of self-destructing was just, I've seen what self-destruction does to people, and it's terrible. It's a terrible thing, and I didn't want that to happen to me. But it wasn't just me. Like I think I told you before in another interview, my own mother didn't understand what I was going to undergo. And I mean, the language my mother used against me was I couldn't repeat here on this screen. But it was not good. But I didn't care, because I knew that I had to do something. Otherwise, I was going to self-destruct. And I needed teachers. I needed a teacher or teachers, because I couldn't do it on my own. I could not do this on my own.
Yeah.
So this is the thing, and they were good teachers.
So it seems to me as well, Bill, that once one has acknowledged that there is evil, or the possibility of evil being expressed through my limited self, one has to acknowledge that in order to muster the courage to then go deeper into the truth. Because if we go into the truth, we're going to encounter those parts of ourselves that we might prefer to ignore, and which numbness and oblivion might provide some temporary shelter from. And so, I mean, this is one of the things about the battlefield setting, and Arjuna being a warrior.
This is all part of the battlefield. This is a warrior. You have to fight.
Yes.
You have to fight this. You have to fight on this battlefield. And you have to kill those aspects of yourself that need to be extinguished and annihilated.
Yes.
And totally destroyed.
And that's one of
the things. You will have to kill those aspects of your own life.
Yes.
Otherwise, you will make no progress.
Yeah.
None.
And it's interesting, Bill, you mentioned self-destruction, and you talked about this, the difference between this small egoic self, the sense of identity that we've become attached to and confined within, we might say, and the underlying self that is pulsating in rhythm with that is part of that, without the distortions or the dissonance that gives us this false sense of self.
Exactly. Because in the realm of that, this is the realm of equanimity. This is the realm of tranquility and the realm of calmness. There is no rising or falling. There's just a perfect sense of calmness. I think I described that once before when I was on the battlefield.
Yes.
This happened to me when I was in Vietnam. I had this sense, and it came to me after I saw a dead Vietnamese, and I saw my own death. And it was a very, very moving experience, because it was a realm of absolute equanimity and calmness. Got down to that. Yeah. And it was not something I called up. I can't call this up. I have not gotten to a level of where I could call this up. It's still something that comes to me at odd times. I cannot call it up.
Yes.
It's a form of grace from somewhere. I assume it's my inner, it's my true self giving me these moments of grace periodically.
In your experience, Bill, are there things that a person can do to invite grace and to invite us to move through evil or beyond its grip, let's say?
I think the answer comes from seeking. Be a seeker.
Mhm.
Be on the way. Be a seeker. And when you are a seeker, something will find you. That's all I can say.
Mm.
That's what happened to me.
Mm.
I can only speak for myself.
Yes. Speaking for yourself, Bill, I remember one time you told me about a great experience in your life, more recent since Vietnam, when an encounter with a teacher gave you what I call a question to live by. And I talk about yoga as a path of inquiry. It
Right.
invites us into this attitude of studentship and apprenticeship. And if there's a question to live by, or a series of 2 or 3 questions to live by that we can continually guide or refer to, it can be very helpful. And would you mind sharing the story of how that question came to you?
Well, you're talking. I think you're referring to the time of where am I in this?
Yes, yes.
Where am I in this? Oh, that's a wonderful story. I was out. When I was working here for the American Embassy in Bangkok, I was a staff sergeant in the Marine Corps, and I was an interpreter translator. So I was talking with Indo-Chinese refugees, interviewing them. But I used to go out to a temple. It was called the Forest Temple, Wat Ba Nan Acharn, in Ubon, in the town of Ubon. A very famous teacher there was called Acharn Cha, the Venerable Acharn Cha. And he and I actually, one of the monks there was a former captain in the 1st Air Cavalry, and he'd had similar experiences in Vietnam that I'd had. And so we became very, very good friends. And so I was out visiting the monk. And so Acharn Cha and I became we became very acquainted. And I spoke a combination of Thai, and I could speak Laotian also. He spoke Thai and Lao, and so we would chit chat. So one day, Acharn Cha and I were chit chatting a little bit, and a village lady came up, and then she started yelling about her husband, and he was a rotten, no good so and so, and he was a drunkard, and he liked a lot of other women, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this very famous monk, Acharn Cha, very, 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 very well known. He was doing the usual monk thing. He was nodding his head, going, yeah, that kind of thing. And then he immediately poked his finger out, just like that. Where are you in this? Where are you in this? To her. And she was shocked. And she called him a bunch of dirty names in Thai, which is very unusual. And then she said, "You're really stupid." And then she walked off. But by that time, I was sobbing. I was crying because I had seen the Buddhist principle of dependent origination, cause and effect. I had seen it, Pratītya Samutpāda. I had seen that. And it was so clear to me, so clear. We live in a world where we call everybody else's at fault, but not us. We're not responsible. I mean, she's the one that married the guy. Nobody else married that guy. She married him. And she was refusing to accept responsibility for that. So where are you in this? And that was Pratītya Samutpāda. And I was stunned, but I understood, and I stood there, and I wide Acharn Cha. I stood there like this with tears coming out of my eyes, just tears running down the cheeks. And I said, "Thank you, Kap Kun Mak, Tan Kap," which is polite for "thank you, sir, thank you for a monk." And I said, "Thank you, thank you." And he just started, he looked at me and he started laughing, and then he hit me. He just whacked, whacked on the side of my arm, and he just started laughing and walked away. But that was very, very potent for me. Very potent. Yeah.
And then, am I right to understand, Bill, that gave you a question to live by, a simple point of reference?
Yes, exactly. Because it is like today, every moment, where are you in this? Where am I in this? Where am I in this? What is my aim? What is my goal? What am I doing? Am I being egotistical? Do I want power? What kind of interaction am I having? Am I working toward doing something without desiring any fruit of action? That's what I should be doing. Is everything I do should be to do without desiring any fruit of action. That's what I should be doing. Am I doing that? Where am I in this? That's the key. And I do that 24 hours a day. I do that every moment I have consciousness. That's where I am. And it's been a very, very wonderful experience. For example, I used to have a vicious temper, horrible temper. For years, my temper is completely gone. No more. I never get angry, ever. I don't even know what anger is anymore. Nothing much bothers me. Very little bothers me. And by the way, my wife really loves all the work I've been doing on the Bhagavad Gītā. my wife really, really loves this, kind of thing. She's all for this meditation stuff and everything. Of course, she's 1000% Chinese, but she really goes for this. Yeah. No.
So, Bill, would you say that you mentioned having a temper, and sometimes when people act in
vicious. I used to fight at the drop of a hat.
So sometimes violence that can be harmful, that can be let's say a manifestation of the evil that's been lurking inside. Through this inquiry, one can dissolve it because one's got to its roots and cleared the field of those roots through.
It doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. It's just like all my post-traumatic stress disorder from Vietnam. Completely gone.
And would I be correct to understand, Bill, that it went by being witnessed and acknowledged and then gone through and beneath to its roots?
Yeah, the roots are no longer there. There's no more root anymore. It's gone. It's all gone. It's all gone. Again, I want to emphasize, I'm not saying I'm not responsible for what I did. I am responsible for what I did. I was there, I did it, I participated, et cetera, et cetera. But I am no longer attached to any part of that. No longer. It's all gone. There's no more root. There's no more anything. It's all gone. Just like my anger, it's all gone.
So you described, Bill, your experience of that as a place of great equanimity.
Yes, that's that's what I feel.
And having gone, and you said, so having yoked yourself to the degree that you've been able to that which is this place of sustained balance or equipoise, that now you've become, let's say, rooted in that ground, then those distorting influences no longer have the same capacity to hook you or pull you away from that center.
The point is now through meditation, I'm aware.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not enlightened in any way, James. I mean, one of the things is I want all the viewers and everybody out there to understand that I am still addicted to coffee, et cetera, et cetera. I like books. I'm totally, totally in love with my beautiful wife. I have emotions, and I'm still attached to emotions, but I understand the nature of my relationship with my emotions. And I understand that through awareness. Awareness is where the real thing comes from. And over time, awareness will chip away, and I will get closer and closer to that more often than I do now. But it's a process. It's a process of chipping away and chipping away. And I'm not even anywhere close. I want all the viewers, I want everybody to understand that I have not arrived in any way, shape, or form. But I do understand my road. Now, that part I do understand.
Mm-hmm.
The way is clear. The road is clear. The path where I'm going is clear. But I am still the seeker on the way. There it is.
Well, I think that's a great note to end on, Bill, that may we all find the courage and the presence to keep aligning ourselves as best we can to that which resonates in our own conscience as the appropriate way to come into deeper understanding of who we really are.
The key, I think, one of the things I'd like to leave with viewers and everybody is you have to come to a point where you yourself will decide, I can't live like this anymore. I've got to do something, otherwise I'm going to destroy myself. And there's a million ways to destroy yourself. You can gain 50, 60 pounds, you can gamble, you can go into the realm of oblivion, you can go in the realm of numbing yourself, or through a million different ways. In the material world right now, there are millions of ways to numb yourself from reality. You can do that, or you can learn how to really live like a human being.
Yes. Now, for me, that's one of the most potent teachings in the Gita. It's like we're all going. You know,
Right.
Krishna says to Arjuna, the wise mourn neither for those who have gone or those who've yet to go.
Right.
And the choice of words is there's so many ways you could say the living and the dead, but he says, Gata suna gata sunscha, those who've gone and those who've yet to go. So we're all going. So death is inevitable for the one who is born, and change is inevitable in between birth and death. So how to navigate that skillfully and in a certain perspective, you know, we're bound for destruction. So how do I want to destroy myself? Do I want to destroy my limitations so I can actually savor more the majesty and the intelligence of life, the vastness of life, of that? Or do I want to hide from that in an oblivion that will only lead to more and more misery?
James, I love that. What you've done is summarize exactly the way I feel. Brilliant, my friend. Brilliant. Brilliant.
Well, thank you for this time today, Bill. I think we have many more interesting discussions ahead.
Okay. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Bill. Until next time.
Until next time.